Welcome to UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. This is Dr. Jenna. This is Real Health, Real Talk. So today we're going to wrap up the February Heart Health Month and look at protecting your heart in real life. Because most conversations about heart health sound like eat better, exercise more, lower your cholesterol, manage your stress. But what no one really talks about is capacity. Capacity, not what you should do. Right? I think we all kind of know what we quote unquote should do, but what your body can actually sustain. And this is where I see a lot of women get stuck because heart health is not about doing everything right. It's about reducing chronic strain on a system that was never meant to operate at full output all of the time. So today I want to pull all that together, self-relationship, labs, stress physiology, into a real world framework for protecting your heart without burning yourself out. So number one, let me start by saying your heart cares more about variability than perfection. So the healthiest hearts are not the calmest. Let this sink in. The healthiest hearts are not the calmest. They're the most adaptable. The most adaptable. So heart rate variability, for example, is a stronger predictor of cardiovascular outcomes than resting heart rate alone. And so a higher HRV is better autonomic flexibility and lower cardiovascular risk. Now, what does this mean in real time? It means that your heart doesn't want you calm all the time. It wants you to recover well. If you look at really elite athletes, they get their heart rate up high, and then it's how quickly they can recover and do it again. It's that recovery period that makes such a huge difference. And so we often think if I'm stressed, I'm harming my heart. At least this is what I see. Like women feel like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed. I'm worried about my heart. Or they're not thinking about it at all. But if you're thinking about it, you're probably relating that stress to concerns about your heart health. But the real risk is stress without recovery. Constant output without restoration. Caregiving without replenishment, without self-care. So let's reframe heart health from like avoiding stress. I mean, I talk a lot in my mindset work about responding differently. We can respond versus react. But let's face it, we're human. There's going to be times when we react. And so the question is how quickly and fully can I come back to baseline? I do this with like, if I happen to be impatient with my kids, which I try not to do, but it happens. How quickly, if I'm feeling agitated, can I reset? Can I let it go? Can I come back to baseline? Because an important thing to realize, this moves us into like the second point I want to make. Emotional labor is physiological labor. Okay. This is something that maybe many of you never really thought about or have been told. Emotional labor, what does that mean? It's anticipating needs. It's managing relationships. It's being the one doing all the planning. It's holding space. All of those pieces activate the sympathetic nervous system, cortisol release, blood pressure elevation, inflammatory signaling. And studies show that caregiving burden, which so many of you are in, is independently associated with increased cardiovascular risk, even when diet and exercise and labs are controlled for. So you can have quote unquote perfect numbers, ideal labs, and still be overloading your cardiovascular system emotionally. Okay, we're talking mechanism here. So pearl number 3, I hope these are pearls, aha moments, is the heart is a metabolic organ. It is not just a pump. Most people think of heart health and they think of arteries. But the heart is one of the most energy demanding organs in the body. And it is deeply affected by your insulin signaling, your mitochondrial health, your sleep quality, your micronutrient status, potassium, magnesium, your iron balance. And so this explains why women may often feel fatigued or breathless or just off long before labs look alarming. Supporting heart health is not just about preventing disease. It's actually about supporting your cellular energy. Which brings me to the 4th point I want to make. Chronic, and this is a big one. This is a big one. So listen up, ladies, especially my perfectionists, overachiever A-types out there. Chronic self-control is a stressor. Chronic self-control is a stressor. And we get praised for this, right? Women are often praised for their discipline, their control, their willpower, their quote unquote being good. But constant restraint, food, emotions, needs, keeps the nervous system in a low-grade threat state. And we can't heal if we're in a threat state. We can't recover. We can't replenish. So, research in psychoneuroendocrinology shows that chronic inhibition releases cortisol. What's chronic inhibition? It's repeatedly holding yourself back in ways that require effort. And this is true for not even the high achiever entrepreneur types. This is true, I think, of most of the women that I work with. So it's not about willpower in one moment. It is about ongoing self-suppression. So let me give you some examples in case you're like, oh, that's not me. Swallowing frustration instead of expressing it. Constantly being the calm one, being the glue, being the person that holds it all together or triages the family. Monitoring food intake all day. Whether it's counting calories, counting macros, obsessing about getting enough protein, talking yourself out of rest. Oh, I got to do this thing. No, I should keep going. Staying agreeable to avoid conflict. A lot of you are conflict avoiders, right? My daughter does that a lot. She's 9. I'm trying to train her to well, I don't want you to tell this person this because they might get mad. I don't want to tell this person this because they might get mad. Staying agreeable, right? To avoid conflict. How do we grow? I said, if I did something that hurt you, I would want to know. If I take it personally, that's on me, not on you. And I can choose, when we get feedback, we can choose what's truth. Don't take it all in emotionally. We can say, you know what? That's actually not true. I don't accept that, because people project their issues all over the place. And then when there is truth, great. Let me use it constructively, not beat myself up, but how can we grow? And this is a big one. This last one I'm going to say is not asking for help when you need it. We don't want to be a burden to others, but we're robbing others of the opportunity to help because most of us like to help. So ask for help when you need it. So physiologically, those things I just listed, that tendency towards chronic inhibition, suppression, etc. This is a few things physiologically. As I said, the brain reads suppression as threat management. The nervous system stays mildly activated, that sympathetic nervous system. Stay alert, don't rock the boat, which is the opposite of being in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest, relax, digest, restore. And cortisol stays elevated, not because of chaos, but because of control. So, and there's research that shows that emotional suppression leads to higher cortisol responses. Suppression plus caregiving roles leads to higher cardiovascular risk in women. Now, again, I know a lot of you are in caregiving roles, and that's why it's so important to honor yourself, to don't put everything aside. And this can be kids. Oh, my kids come first. So many menopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal women I work with have been putting their family and their children first for years. And now they've driven themselves into the ground. Like, okay, it's time for me. Let's nip that in the bud. Prioritizing your family doesn't mean at your own health expense. In fact, I'd say the opposite, right? The idea of putting your own oxygen mask on first. We can't truly care for others from an empty cup. And then so research has also shown that repressed emotional expression correlates. So like we're repressing our emotions and what we're truly feeling correlates with higher incidence of cardiovascular cardiac events in women. So to sum that up, when we constantly hold ourselves in, got to be in control, our emotions, our needs, our hunger, our truth, the body experiences this as stress. Not dramatic stress, but quiet, chronic stress. And over time, that disrupts your system, it prevents recovery, and it keeps cortisol elevated. Now, this doesn't mean do whatever you want, right? But it means self-regulation more than restriction. It means support over suppression. Your heart thrives in safety, not constantly policing yourself. These podcasts are not meant to add to your list of, oh my gosh, I'm not doing things right. They're not meant to add to your negative self-talk, right? I'm not doing things right. I'm not doing this. They're not meant to add, oh, I got to do this now. I got to do this. I got to do this. The heart thrives in safety. And if you're constantly not enough, if you're constantly self-policing, that's not safety. Think of teams or kids who are micromanaged. They don't thrive. They don't get to have self-trust. And this is where I just want to speak briefly to the GLP-1s, which I said I'm gonna do a whole podcast on soon. I was very anti, I would say, when like a couple years ago when they were first getting a lot of press and a lot of popularity. And so I've been diving into the research and I've been looking at what I'm seeing clinically on GLP-1s in the FDA approved doses as well as in microdosing, which is not FDA approved, but it's very intriguing to me. And one of the main things that I will just speak to right now is the food noise being quiet. I've talked to people who say, I've been obese, my entire life, and now they're on a GLP-1 or one of the combos like tirzepatide, and it's just calm. They're not self-policing. So, and this is why I'm really intrigued by microdosing. It's like, can we use a minimum of something for a maximum effect? And if that food noise quiets and you stop all day obsessing about what you're eating and your cravings, that is a huge win. Now, I do see that kind of food quiet come when we reset people's systems with the foundations. And when I do the GLP talk, we're going to talk about, just like hormone therapy, these are not Band-Aids. These are not done in isolation as like a magic bullet and not addressing your stress, right? And not addressing eating and moving your body and all of those pieces. But as an additional tool in a comprehensive look at you and your well-being, this is an incredible thing that I've seen. And so we're going to dive into that later. Again, not the only way to get there, but I've been really intrigued by what a powerful way it is and how quickly women experience that and how much it frees up energy. That's what I'm saying. It frees up energy. Do you know how much energy it takes to be indecisive? Okay, if you're an indecisive person, go listen to my podcast on decisions. Do you know how much energy it takes to be constantly thinking about food and what can I eat? I was like that in my 20s when I had a low blood sugar, like reactive. And so my whole day revolved around like, what can I eat to not get shaky? What can I eat to not drop my blood sugar? Once my blood sugar dropped, like it was really hard for me to recover. And so it was very exhausting to be in that place. So it takes a lot of energy to be chronically trying to control your appetite. It takes a lot of mental and physical energy to be constantly thinking about and worrying about what you're putting in your mouth. Okay. So let's look at all the ways that we can shift those pieces where we're chronically restricting or controlling. Where can you get the support that you need to shift those pieces? All right. Now, one of the things I dove into last time is that heart health is not about a snapshot in time. It's about trajectory. All right. A single cholesterol panel does not define your heart health. A single stressful season, it's just one thing. A single quote unquote bad or unhealthy habit, I don't like those judgment words, does not define your heart health. None of those do. What matters is direction over time, trends over time, patterns, not moments. This is why we have that all or nothing mentality when whether it's exercise or eating, we have moments where we feel like we've slipped. We have moments where we feel like we've fallen off, and then we just like throw it all, out. No, getting back up, that's consistency. So, and then lastly, I would say what really matters. So direction over time, patterns, trends, not snapshots, not moments, and your capacity expanding, not collapsing, your capacity expanding. And this is why perfection fails women. We've got to let go of this perfectionism. This is such a failure. It's a recipe for failure because it doesn't take into account hormonal shifts, life phases, emotional seasons, grief, loss, trauma, caregiving demands. It doesn't take any of that into account. Heart protection in the long run comes from alignment, not intensity. And intensity doesn't last. We dive into intensity and then so it's sort of like relationships, right? When they're in that honeymoon phase and it's so exciting, that doesn't last. And then where are people left with once that initial intensity and excitement? That slow burn over time is beautiful. I mean, fire, let's have moments of fire, but it's that slow burn over time. And so alignment comes from that steadiness and being in alignment with all of these pieces, not from these flash pan intensity moments. So let's integrate this all right? Instead of asking, what should I be doing? I want to invite you to ask, where am I asking my body to carry too much alone? Where could I build in more recovery, not more effort? What support, and you can ask 1, 2, or all of these questions, what support would actually lower my cardiovascular load? Even one shift matters. So I told you all I spent 3 weeks around the holidays not moving my body. I just went into a recovery mode. And every time I thought, I'm gonna get back into it, my body was just no, just chill. And so when I finally got back into things in January, I think it was, for those of you that have listened to me for a while, I like to lift heavy and I support lifting heavy. I love lifting heavy, but I just didn't want to jump back in where I left off. I knew I wouldn't be as strong anyway. And so I think I mentioned, maybe it doesn't really matter, that I started doing a TRX workout, which Haley has these great fitness programs, and I have her membership to her app. And so she's got a 12-week TRX suspension workout routine. And I was just going to do it for a week or two and then pick up where I left off to just kind of get back into it without the weights. And I've just been loving it. I've been loving it. And it's interesting to me because someone who I thrive off, I love weights. I love them. It's been a total change. Now, I've always loved Pilates. I used to teach Pilates. So I do like those other types of exercises. But looking at and I feel like I've seen changes in my body more quickly, which is interesting too. I don't feel like I've lost strength or tone from switching it up. And when I look at, okay, what is TRX offering that heavy weights maybe was not? And again, it's just not to say don't lift heavy, but to honor your season. That's what this is really about, to honor your season. I think it's maybe lower cortisol from it's a different kind of movement. It's a lot of functional movement. I mean, it's also using your whole body, but it's more of it's intense, don't get me wrong. But anyway, so the message of that is honoring your season, because I decided to do the whole 12-week program and she incorporates a little bit of weights in some of the later weeks of this system. But it's just fabulous. And I'm working my whole body, but it's in a very different way. And so I honor the season that you're in, and just even one little shift matters. So let's close with reiterating heart health is not about becoming perfect. I would say health in general is never about becoming perfect. Heart health isn't built through pressure. It's built through support. And the healthiest hearts belong to bodies that feel supported, not constantly pushed, that feel honored. And I would add in the self-talk piece. How are you talking to yourself? Are you shaming yourself? Are you blaming yourself? Go back and listen to my podcast on self-talk. It's very, very important. There was a Super Bowl ad about eating healthy, and it was a very shamey, blamey, stop, enough with that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We know research shows shaming and blaming does not work. All right. So it's not about being pushed. It's about feeling supported. I don't think guilt feels very supportive. I don't think shame feels very supportive. So it's really about resource. When we have resources, we feel supported. When we have assistance and support, that's why I love, mentorship, resourced enough to recover, resourced enough to feel, resourced enough to live in a body that isn't always bracing, that isn't always controlling, resourced enough to be able to relax and get help. This is how you protect your heart, not just for longevity, but for the life that you want to live right now. So you've got this. Thank you so much for joining me. Please share this with a friend that would find it impactful, that would get some aha moments, and I will see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me on this episode of UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey, one that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.